Thanks for that. It's great to be here. It's always a pleasure to speak at Rotary Clubs, and I'm really excited about tonight because a few weeks ago I was here at the Rachel Smith presentation, which was a fantastic presentation about the transportation issues going on in Europe and all over the world, really. So I'll be building on to that presentation a little bit later. But before I get to that, I'll talk a little bit about where I came from. And since most of the people in this room seem to be at least familiar on some level with the U.S., I'll kind of zip through a lot of the slides. But hopefully it'll be something that will be educational too. That helps. There we go. All right, so here's the states, and I'm coming from Tennessee, which is one of the lesser-known states probably. It's in the southeastern region of the country. It's that long, skinny state there. There's a number of major cities. These are the three largest, which are Memphis, Nashville, and Knoxville, and I'm coming from Knoxville, though I've spent quite a bit of time in Nashville and Memphis. So Knoxville is a medium-sized city, kind of small to medium-sized. It's about 700,000 people in the metro area, and it's known for a few different things. It's energy. The energy industry is quite big there. I don't know if you can see this, but the Sun Sphere here is one of the more famous monuments of the 1980s in at least the area, and that's dedicated to all of the people who have worked for energy in the area. There's the Tennessee Valley Authority is a major employer there. And a lot of people work for hydroelectric power as well as nuclear power, because that's where the national labs are as well. There's also the University of Tennessee, which is probably the best known university in the state, which has a huge, huge stadium, and people are pretty passionate about their sports team there. I went to my undergraduate at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, and Nashville is about twice the size of Knoxville, and it's also called Music City, USA. It has a pretty rich musical heritage and something that I really enjoyed during my time there. Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash both made it really big there, and of course one of my favorites has always been Dolly Parton. She grew up about 40 minutes away from where I grew up, and she's pretty well known for some of her funny quotes, like "You'd be surprised how much it costs to look this cheap." One of my favorites was dumb blonde jokes were a really big deal in the U.S. for a while, and a reporter asked her what she thought about those dumb blonde jokes. And she says, "Well, I don't mind them much because I know I'm not dumb, but I also know I'm not blonde." So she's a pretty funny lady, and we definitely enjoy having her around. Some other a local connection, or at least somewhat local, some Aussies live in Nashville, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, although I've never run into them. Many of my friends have. They seem to like it there. Tennessee is also known for one of its most noteworthy exports, which is Jack Daniel's whiskey. And some people maybe have had a little bit too much to notice this, so that's why we wrote it on the bottle. And as kind of a side note, I've actually been to the distillery, and it's a really great tour that you get there. But at the end of the tour, you can't actually purchase any whiskey. It's in a dry county, so you have to go to the next county over to purchase it. And that's how moonshine happens. Tennessee is also a really pretty state. Although there's a number of national parks that might be better known, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park is actually the most visited national park in the U.S. It gets millions of visitors every year, and it's definitely where I learned to love the environment and to enjoy it. I've spent many nights hiking through these woods and enjoying the scenic views that it offers. At a certain point, you have to leave your home state, and I chose to do that and head over to Portland, Oregon. I got my master's degree of transportation planning and policy there, and I completed last June. But for those of you who haven't been to the States or don't know these two areas, it's a pretty dramatic shift. Tennessee is a very religiously conservative area, and Portland, Oregon is probably the most liberal city in the country, so it's a pretty dramatic change. And to kind of illustrate this, we've got, so in Nashville, people are drinking some sweet tea. And in Portland, they're known for their craft brews. The majority of hops in the world are actually grown in the Portland region. So that really fosters a culture of beer and craft beer. I lived with a brewer. I learned a lot about beer, and really it's a fascinating topic and as well as enjoyable. So you have to change your shoes too, because the Nashville shoes aren't necessarily what's going to be most useful in the Oregon woods, where you come across a lot of lumberjacks. They have a really strong heritage in the timber industry, so it's a pretty dramatic change there too. And of course, your sports team changes a lot too. The Tennessee Titans are really popular in Nashville. They're an American football team. Well, Portland doesn't have an American football team, and they're really not that into it. They much more prefer soccer. And the Portland Timbers are a pretty big deal there. So Portland's kind of an interesting town. It's a population of about 2.3 million, so roughly the same size as Brisbane. And we're known for a lot of different things, a lot of community involvement, a lot of transportation issues, which is why I went there really. I really wanted to learn how they became Portland. They really dreamed themselves a beautiful city on the edge of this continent and they made it happen, which is really inspiring to me. But kind of the elephant in the room with Portland is that it's a very, very weird place. It's definitely known for being weird, and you see all sorts of interesting fashions, like this Abraham Lincoln steampunk or some of these hipsters here. And a lot of people share their opinions. It's sometimes called the People's Republic of Portland as a nod to its more liberal tendencies. And people love bikes there. This is from the Tweed ride, where everyone dressed up in 1920s attire and took to their bikes. And then this is from Bridge Pedal, where they shut down all the bridges and everyone bikes around. The picture that I didn't show, because I think it would raise some eyebrows, is Portland also has the world's largest world naked bike ride. So some 5,000 people bike around naked on a rainy day in June. But I got around to doing some other things too. I'm a mountain climber and a rock climber, and I really got to enjoy that. So this is me here in some pretty nasty weather up on Mount Hood, and then here I am at Mount Rainier, having a really good time. And of course the beaches are wonderful there. They're not as nice as the coast here, just because it just never gets really warm enough to swim in Oregon. And of course, some of the oldest living things in the world are in Oregon. Here we are, some redwoods, and then Redwood National Park is just across the border in California. And of course, I bike a lot. I'm going to talk a lot about biking for the remainder of the presentation, so it's fitting that I share this. I really enjoy going on overnight bike tours, and it's something that I've recently discovered and hope to do some here if I get a chance. So, 2 weeks after I graduated, I moved all the way to Brisbane, and it's really been wonderful every step of the way. My sponsor club is the club, or my host club rather, is the Club of Kippa-Ring. So it's really great. They've been great at showing me around and introducing me to the land and the culture here. So what am I doing here? I am a Rotary Ambassadorial Scholar, and most Rotary Ambassadorial Scholars are actual students, but I already finished my degree, so I've opted to do some research here. And my research is currently focusing on the bike share program. And many of you are probably familiar with the bike share program because Brisbane has one. But in case if you're not, bike share programs are short-term bicycle rentals available at a network of unintended locations. So, in other words, you can walk up to a station, get a bike out, ride it for 30 minutes, and then put it into another station. It's kind of a quick and easy way to get around town for a lot of people, especially if they're making some short trips.